Furious Driving, proud to be supported by Diamond Bright, protecting, cleaning and caring for the Furious fleet and for yours, with 10% off using code FD10. Bidding Classics, the online classic car marketplace with more cars added every week. And Lancaster Insurance cover the Furious fleet. They are one of the biggest specialist insurers in the UK, covering all areas of vintage to modern classic cars and motorbikes. Follow the links in the description below. Hello and welcome to Furious Driving, and today I'm in the driveway with my little 2001 Mini Cooper, one of the pre-production cars, number 202 off the production line. This is one of my little favourite cars, but I don't use it that much because it is kind of special, even though it is a very, very fun car to drive and be in. Anyway, there's a couple of things I've been meaning to do for this car for a very, very long time. Firstly, the airbag light, because this is a 2001 Mini Cooper. In fact, any R50 is the same problem. You will find as soon as you put the ignition on, the airbag light comes on as well. It's a constant cheery companion that makes it always a bit like Christmas in this car. The problem is the wiring going into the driver's seat is just made of absolute chocolate. It's the most fragile stuff in the world. Anyway, clearly I've been foolish and moved this seat more than once, and that has broken the wires again, so I'm going to have to go probe underneath there and try and sort that out. Secondly, because this is a fairly rare car, I don't want to be ruining it with rust, so I have been and bought some Built Hamber Dynax. What have I got? I've got two lots. I've got some cavity wax and I've got some Dynax UC. This one, the S50, is the stuff that will go inside the cavities, inside the body pressings and things. And this one though, is Dynax UC, is a clear film anti-corrosion wax. Because this is a pre-production car, I didn't just want to whack black wax underneath there and hide all the original kind of colours and everything of it. I want it to still look fairly original. I was thinking about Lanagard, but that's not exactly untested. But Built Hamber, which is not sponsoring this video, I paid about 60 quid for those 4 cans. I'm told are the best, so I want to whack it on there and keep this thing very nice. Now before I begin, it's not the best day for it because it's a bit cold and it's a bit wet, but the car has been used. I do try and use it sparingly at this time of year. Clean off underneath the car before I begin. So first things first, snow foam the floor, and then this weird and wacky wackadoodle contraption here to go and squirt everything off, so then I can leave it to dry, and hopefully tomorrow will be warmer, I can get out and actually start cleaning off properly. Incidentally, since that last video cleaning the blue Mercedes R107, I have invested in a new pressure washer, which is noticeably a lot smaller. Right, let's go. Why am I snow foaming the chassis, you might ask? Well, because this stuff clings to the dirt and lifts it off, so I'm going to go and hose it off in a minute. Hopefully we'll be left with a fairly clean and clear floor pan in order to start off doing our rust proofing. Right, so that's now dripping with joy as the snow foam falls off it underneath the car here. That's snowed over all the rear suspension and the floor pan. So I'm going to try and get it all looking good, and I'll go and get the hosey off thing in a minute. Now, if you want one of these things, and frankly, why wouldn't you? They're on Amazon, which is where I've got mine from, and I'll put a link in the description below. And basically plugs into any standard cartridge socket, and then blast up underneath the car. Gives your underwear a wash. And this thing is actually really useful all the time you're using cars through the winter, because you want to get the undercarriage, the floor, the suspension a bit cleaned off if it's really salty out. Even if it's a fairly new car, really, really handy thing for, well, just everyday maintenance, really. Okay, now I want the car up in the air, but I want free access to all the chassis, so I don't want it on a jack, which means ramps. Now, as the phrase "going to end in tears" was designed specifically for these things, and also as they're actually too sharper angle for this car to drive up, I'm going to use the jack to jack it and then just roll underneath. Incidentally, because this is a BMW style lifting system, I've got the Draper lifty thingy that goes into the little slot in the sill underneath there, so I can jack it safely without making a mess of the floor. Okay, next up, you get these plastic sill covers off, because there's a lot of hidden area underneath here which I've never looked at on this car. So these plastic screw things which come out of these and expand out. So let's get this all unbuttoned out of there, because I really want to make sure this all as rust proof as possible. So all but one have come off really easily. This one will not, just spun in there the whole time and now is rounding itself out. So this one's going to be the entertaining one to remove. At least they're all plastic. I was about to say that they're all plastics, there's no rusty problems, but plastic unfortunately does degrade as well. So always something. There we go. Okay, from this point now, what you actually have to do is pry up the metal panel, find some more clips under there which will all break, and then you can lift it off. But I don't need to do that, I've got enough access for what I need. And what I'm going to do at this point is go in with a sudsy brush and just give everything one final clean up underneath here, so that it's all nice and clean. Incidentally, adding more torches to the light collection, because you seriously cannot have too many sources of light when you're working underneath the car. Now I'm getting wet sleeves. Also, this has given me access, right down the arm, access to get the cavity stuff done as well. Yuck! Right down the arm again. Random bolt just fell up, not quite sure what that's from. I'm guessing Mini, probably. I'd a guess. I'll try and get everything fairly clean before I start squirting this stuff on, because what I'm using is the semi-transparent one, so you can sort of see the colour of the floor before you begin. I did at the NEC over the weekend. At the NEC over the weekend there was a blue Mini one, which was, oh my gosh, it was incredible. I've never seen anything like it. It looked cleaner than the day it came down the factory line. And it'd be lovely to have that. But how do you just use that day to day? Terrified to take it out. Good thing is though, I'm not finding any kind of loose scabby stuff that needs to be, what do you call it, wire brushed. And this is the worst bit, this panel here under the exhaust pipe. Plastic fuel tank, and this was the carrier. This carrier was replaced at the MOT not long after I got the car actually. Just popped the back wheels off so I can get better access to this rear suspension setup. So I'll quickly wire brush these down so that we can do them while the floor is drying, and then we'll be good to go pretty much. One final thing, I'm just levering off these plastic covers which sit on this lower arm, because there's a cavity in there you can't get to when this is on there, and you want that not to rot out from inside. Okay, rather usefully, these screw holes which held in the catches to hold this tight also double up as a nice access for putting cavity wax in there. So the first thing I'm going to do is jump up with the cavity wax. I'm going to find myself a mask and go underneath the car. Now, one thing I cannot stress quite enough when you're doing this particular job is the need to wear PPE. Gloves are obviously a given. Eyeglass thingies, goggles, because it's going to spray everywhere and it's nasty stuff to get in your eyes, and absolutely a face mask. If you breathe this stuff in, it's horrible and it's not good for you, so do put a mask on. This is actually an FFP3 mask, so I'm protected from both overspray and COVID. Might as well try and be vaguely methodical. Start at the front, I work my way back. It's like a really thin wax that goes literally everywhere. Makes a right blooming mess. Oh Jesus, dripping over the floor. Okay, let's go and find a bit of cardboard to stick on the floor. Doing some driveway cleaning before too long. Let's give it a good old douse every which way. Move on to the next one, and hopefully it'll do its thing and spread and creep through all the little cavities, nodules, get into every crevice. Crevice is a positively disgusting word. I don't know where all these box sections go, so I'm just going to kind of bung it every which way it can. Right, okay, let's do the other side. That was less dirty than I thought it would be. This is one of those jobs where you know you're doing right when you're making an unbelievable mess. Incidentally, my axle stand is not going rusty anytime soon. Right, now we start with the actual floor pan itself, and I'm using the clear version of this stuff. I'm going to put the camera back a bit further away so it doesn't get coated in wax. The idea being that this is an original car, so I want it to kind of look as original as possible still. So, I found more bits to put cavity wax into actually. So, let's get going. This is a clear finish. Oh, it's making a right mess. Oops, I'm getting on the exhaust pipe. I'll have to wipe it off in a minute. The idea is here that I want to be able to see how the car looked kind of when it came out the factory. Now I can try and get this stuff underneath here so it doesn't rot out underneath the plastic cladding. Oh, damn it. Oh, it's quite difficult to do this from this angle. So there we go, this side is more or less completely coated. I'll go back and check. I haven't missed any areas, but the floor pan up around the underneath the exhaust area, this is all done quite nicely. I need to find some black though for this bit here because I don't want this to be see-through because it looks a bit manky and you can see it. So I managed to find some more holes to put wax into, all through up here, here, and into suspension arm as well. This is a very long squirty thing with a cross of squirt at the end, so you pull it all the way in and pull it back as much as you can. This can's nearly empty actually. Okay, so one each of these large cans, one of the underbody clear UC wax did pretty much the entire floor pan, and one entire can of the cavity wax have done all the cavities. So for future reference, if you're doing a Mini, one will just about do it of each of those types of can. Secondly, now I'm going to go on and do the blacking on, this is Underbody Seal from Comma, which is another really good product, but it's got a nice smooth black finish, which means I can get this all looking pretty nice under here. Redo the arms, anti-roll bar, I'll clean that in a second. Get the whole lot looking really rather nice. I've just found another place for the cavity to go in there. This is the bit that was covered by the plastic, and there is a cavity up inside there which needs to be done. My GoPro, by the way, is completely covered in wax. I'm going to have to completely brake and clutch clean the GoPro in a minute. This is also exactly what I need to be doing on the Crown Victoria rear suspension too. But there aren't any broken bolts in this one, so I'm far happier doing this one for the time being today. I tell you what, that does actually look really rather smart down there now. So when you glance under the back of the car, it gives you quite a pleasant feeling of how good the car really is. And the floor itself, because if we use the clear wax, it still has the factory red all over it, which is brilliant. Now I just need to get up and do this bit up here. Of course, I can't take the car off the jack, or the wheels off I should say, because I foolishly put it on ramps, which does make taking the car wheels off a little bit tricky. Trying not to get it onto the brake discs, of course, because that will not help the car's stopping power very much at all. I will pop the wheels off and do the other side of this metal work later on, but while I'm under here, it makes life an awful lot easier. I need to go and brake and clutch clean the GoPro again quite a lot now. Right, so all now done. This looks absolutely gorgeous. If you like a clean looking car, this is a job you're going to enjoy. I'm really rather pleased with that, because the car looks great. It's now rust proofed against the future. It looks really good underneath the front as well. So yeah, we are cooking with gas, as they used to say in the olden days. Means I can use the car with a bit more relaxation when it comes to bad weather, because it was a bit of a tense time anytime I took it out and the weather was bad. I'll let this all dry off a little bit before I screw those plastic clips back in there. Then I'll get this thing off the ramp. Oh, there's one I've dropped over there. And then we just need to go and have a quick look at the airbag light and see if we can figure out which wire's broken for that. I like the underbody clips. I'll leave these plastic cover thingies off until this is all kind of gone off and hardened overnight, I think. Put the wheels back on and get the car down. Right, let's go take my rust-proof clothes off and then look at the inside of the car. Okay, so I just tried unplugging this little blue connector here, which hooks the car's harness into the car itself, I believe. Anywho, I then got a second fault showing the safety belt pre-tensioner, which I guess is over here. Cleared the faults, plugged it back in again, and it went away again. So basically I think the fault is it's one of the bits of wire underneath the seat. I think it must be down here somewhere, probably. This bit, there's actually a big bit of flexible wire down there, which I guess, ouch, is where the problem is, because every time I move the seat the problem comes back. So I'll clear it again. Let's start the car. Problem's back. So let's do another quick test again. Quick erase. Light goes out. Okay. Light flashing. Okay. It's fixed. Broken. It's fixed. It's broken. Okay, now it's out completely. This is really odd. Let's run up and down the drive a couple of times. Okay, it's out again. So what I'm concluding is that there is a small break in the wire somewhere. As long as the seat doesn't move, the light will stay out and we can pass the MOT. So fingers crossed we can get it through that. I think this is going to be a real problem with these cars in the future, that there is going to be fragile wiring that's going to fail, and it's only going to be like an auto electrician coming back to replace a section of the loom that's going to fix it, which is a bit of a problem. Oh well. Anyway, as long as it gets an MOT for now, we'll be fine. Anyway, right, annoying light. Rightio. Okay, thank you for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed this little effort into making the Mini rust-proof for the future, saved for future generations, and hopefully able to pass an MOT. And if you have, as usual, hit a like, subscribe, you know the deal. Head over to Furious Driving for the wonderful merchandise options, and I'll see you next time. Well, who knows what we're doing next time. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.